magic bullet is a grinding, and it's kind of the whole point of why they try to coerce light beings, divine ones, into contracts, okay? To grind you up, okay? Basically for their meal, for their supply, for their purposes. Now, there's a gentleman on TikTok that I reposted his video. So if you're following me, I just saw 111 on the timer. If you're following me over there, you go into the repost, and he talked about contract. It's con artist. It's a contract to have access to you, to force you into certain situations, and to have access to you, and so forth. So that really triggered something that I had been thinking about myself. I just hadn't broken it down like that, because he was talking about the Latin meaning of the word. And I talk about how I've been finding it fascinating, the tricks of the English language and what it really means. And he was talking about the spell. It's a spell, and it's your signature. You're signing it with your signature. So this is something that some of you may come to know. Now, in my case, in my story, it was happenstance. So, you know, relocating from Nevada to Texas, I took any opportunity that whatever came through first. And everybody seemed to ask that question. And they could be asking that question because they knew that they had a hand in, all of a sudden, you know, Texas and Beaumont, Texas, housing authorities seeming to come through, okay? But that's for another video. But, you know, I had applied massively. I shared this on other videos of mine where prior to leaving Nevada, when I was seeking, trying to figure my way through and get me and my son on track, I went to an agency that is like a social services agency that helps you to basically apply online across the United States for any type of resources pertaining to housing massively, okay? So it doesn't feel like you're doing, because it'll take forever if you were to just kind of try to go through the list. And so I did that. And I did it for both of us. I included myself. And so I got a little bit confused as to why, when it all came up, that he was the only one to come up. Because I'm like, well, I did it together. You know, we were both essentially in the same boat. Okay. So that threw me off, but I just really didn't have time to like really fight that. When you're pressed in these situations, this goes back to how they exploit the vulnerability, okay? The scarcity, the situation. So what I told myself in the process was, well, I'll get out there and I'll seek other resources. I'll try to meet other people. I'll see if there's, because in Nevada, there's lots and lots of places. They have a whole lot of places damn near every main street, weeklies, dailies even, okay? And so I told myself, well, I'll do that if that's what I have to do. I'll meet some people and, you know, maybe get a little part-time gig, figure something out, and eventually, you know, maybe I'll apply to move in with my son, or I'll apply as a live-in aid, you know. So I had all of those things in mind, but I was like, well, let's get him there. I don't want to delay the process. My experience had been, prior to any time you change up something, anything you deal with the government, anytime there's the slightest change, that this could derail something by 45 days. Just depends. And in our situation, it was just something I felt we could not afford, because there was no other options. I had expended that. I was done with relatives. I had attempted to seek out to my son's relatives, and again, it was situations, people just kept trying to get us in situations that wasn't going to be favorable for us. I didn't need to have to take care of anybody else. I have been taking care of my adult disabled son, and I didn't need to be in any environment where I felt, those social expectations. And I just saw 144. There's social expectations when you go to live with people and when you go to live with someone who might be disabled. And we were already at our wits' end. We were already depleted, expended. We didn't feel like entertaining people because, folks have a tendency to think that's your purpose. Like you're there to, So by the time, we got through that, so we took what came through. Now, this is what I'm figuring out, because my situation was happenstance, actually. Even though they were manipulating it to start on my side, it was happenstance. You see that? They had their hand in that because they were trying to entrap me from the beginning. Oh, well, let's get out there and then try to get her into some kind of trouble because, they had their hand in that. Okay? My side, it was happenstance. Now, here's where it turns in my favor, though. It's a reason they kept trying to coerce outside of just money. Because somebody's going to say, yeah, obviously, Bloomy, if you're a living, then you'll get a bigger spot. And that means more money, for these, property managers or landlords. Sure. But that's not the only reason. They want my signature. They want They feeling some kind of way now. I can feel them trying to play in my energy as I speak. I can feel them trying to play in my crown as I speak, which they're going to end up feeling and looking electrocuted by the time this is over with. Hell, possibly right now. But look, so contract, signature. Then they could see if they could get me into a contract, this gives them access. This is the spell, legal and binding. You see that? Which gives them access and control, unjust, because since they're violating these positions, they're violating these programs, they're exploiting them. Gives them unjust undue, and it's a spell that I have then willingly entered by way of my sigil, my signature, onto the con artist track. This is why they try to coerce it in the situation when I was trying to get my son approved to relocate after having been tricked in a whole nother year of a lease. That was some shysty, skanky, skankatronic, behavior there. Okay? But this is why they try to lean into, okay, well, let's just push her into, let's say, well, if his doctors say so, then we can get it approved. And then let's confuse that and say, well, no, it's, they could get Southeast Texas transportation. So if they get a live-in maid, see, that was a way to a live-in aid, that was a way to coerce it there. I didn't see it that way back then. I just thought that they were just trying to be over controlling and trying to be nosy and, instead of making something easy and simple for the client, which is my son. Okay. So that's what I thought, but I'm now realizing that it was deeper than that, and that's a part of their frustration, and it's also a part of why they have attempted to get me caught up or to be a nuance and a nuisance to me. Okay? It's all crystal clear. And all the players involved are exposed, including the residents. Okay? Including the residents, the staff, the residents' friends, you know, the people that they're bringing in to be weirdos and things like that. They're all exposed. Collective, target individuals, they want you to sign that legal and binding contract so that you can seal the spell onto yourself by way of exploiting. Call judgment on that and ask your team, give intention for all truth, and ask your whoever, whatever you res with, to assist you with executing justice, co-creating justice for that, and how you do that, but calling judgment, because again, that's tricky. That's this trickster spirit, this trickster energy. And it's also a violation and manipulation of, you know, circumstances, in a sense, when you are plummeted with, you know, a shit ton of spell work, your children, and all sorts of things, people. That's foul play, and judgment needs to be had on that. Okay? It needs to be fully had. But we have to co-create that. We have to set intention and do our part, but just know that it's so that you are bound into that you put yourself into a legal and binding contract. The spell that gives them access by way of your SIG, all that little fine red print, all of those little nuances, all of those things that they can hide it behind. I have a right to unjustly and unduly run this person's social security number and their ID for my nefarious reasons because I'm a whore. I'm a whore. I'm a thirsty bitch whore. I'm a whore. I'm a whore. I'm a hating whore. Right? I'm a hateful whore. A hateful nigga. That's bitter. That's you know, salty. And I want to exploit and be all up in this motherfucker's business so I can cause some ruckus. Yep, it's that deep. So I can be nosy, so I can do humiliation rituals, so I can make a problem, but I can put it under a title. I can hide it under this, your SIG, make sure that the con artist track, the contract, and this will be all under the guise, I'm doing my job. This is under the title and the jurisdiction, or even if they can't, if they won't say it, because most of this stuff is something that they're hiding. It's not like they're even making an announcement of it. They're just up in their offices on their computers using companies' resources. And the reason why it'll go under wraps is because you're in some kind of a contract, and so no one is going to be suspicious of anything pertaining to something you're contracted in. It's harder to cover up and do when it's, okay, this person is not contracted with you. Why the fuck are you running their social security number? This person is not a client. Why the fuck are you running their driver's license? They're not a client. Why the fuck are you searching their job history? They're not applying for credit with you. Why the hell are you looking into any of that? You don't, you know, you're violating HIPAA laws and beyond. OSHA, HIPAA, whatever you want to call it, depending on the industry, you know? So this is why. So you all think about this, targeted individuals, okay? So they are manufacturing situations for you in the background. Then they're going to present to you something that feels like a dream come true. Like for me, I'm not hating, but I feel some kind of way about whoever this person that's in Texas, talking about they got all this free land and they're getting people there for free and they got a certain amount of water. And I don't know. I feel like it's a code in the making. I could be wrong. I'm just saying, like, now, after I've experienced what I've experienced in this state, I question everything about it. I question every fucking thing about it. The so-called resources, the so-called help. I question everything. What are you trying to harvest, motherfuckers? What? Get rid of your code so you can siphon shit? You know, get them in a contract with your ass. And you know, it's free. You know their situation. You know these people ain't got no fucking where to go. You see that? It's sad that we are in a time where we have to be cautious even about generosity. It's sad that we live in a time that we have to be cautious about things that were possibly originally designed for the people without all the other bullshit attached to it. It's sad. But see, the problem with all these things is you bring in humans, and humans with their crazy shit. You know, you're giving them these jobs, these positions of power. We don't know what kind of mental health they actually have. You don't know if this is a racist prick or not. You just gave them a damn job. You don't know what the fuck. You just gave them a job. You don't know if they're a religious radical, you know. You don't know if they're even a narcissist or sociopath. You just gave them a job because they have a skill set. And then you let them lead your program. That's supposed to be to help the people, the very people in which they violate. See, here's the thing about psychopathy, sociopath. These energies targets these types of arenas so that they can have access to a bunch of vulnerable people. You heard me right. So they can have access to them, to their energy, to anything. To people that they feel no one cares about. This thing gets sicker and sicker the more I delve into it. It just gets more grotesque and sicker the more I realize how fucked up all these motherfuckers actually are. But feel entitled to protection and security and safety. I am not gonna cry and shed a tear when these motherfuckers gotta live down what the fuck they've done. I'm gonna smile and say, where's your smirk? Put your smirk back on your face. Put your little giggle back in your throat. That's what I'm gonna say. Put your smirk back on. Put your little giggle under the throat. Get your stoicism back on your face. You were stoic. Put that back on because it's you and your people's turn. Just go ahead and just put it back on your face. Put your little smirky smirk. Because again, targeted population, once you have to evoke that judgment. And you have to be willing to co-create the justice. Okay? Yep. Once you see it, once you realize, like, okay, yeah, we gone. Flag on the flag. Deception, trickery, exploitation, a vulnerability. Okay? Like I said, my situation was happenstance, but I could see how my team and my oversoul used that, knowing full well there were schemes going on. What might have seemed frustrated for me, because truth be told, I was trying to do those things for me too. Now people are assuming things, but that's what they get for having a nose in all sorts of shit they ain't got no business having it in. But now I see it's because this was to keep me liberated. It was to keep me free while they had my son in the contract, so that I can keep my liberation and work on getting him out of it, which is already in play. It's already in fucking play. They will not be having any further contracts with my son. I can guarantee that. Okay. Chances are before this year is out, we will be breaking it. If not, it will be by February and they will not have another one. Contract over. But guess what? This is, now it's making sense. This is why they be trying to sabotage the background. Y'all, you follow me yet? Because what are they doing? What have they always been doing? Well, if there's no other options, wrong. Because see, now this time it's a different story. There are other options. Don't worry about it. It's not anything that they need to know. What we need to know, collective, is that they are. Over. And see, these people start to overdo themselves, which only further helps you all to do what needs to be done. You see how this all ends up working out a certain way? It's like they overdid it. Oh, they overdid it. This is what they get. It's what they get. These people, collective, they overdo their shit. They overdo their harassment, their stalking, their torturing, their gang stalking, hiring crackheads, meth heads, you know what I'm saying, prissy bitches and whatever else the fuck, they be doing. They overdid it by trying to create misery and agony and uncomfortableness for you. So now, this only perpetuates you all seeing and finding out the truth about all of it, which only further perpetuates the ending of the contracts of them being able to have any access to you or your kids. Because now, you're not going to want to be in no contract or your kids with any of they trash bag asses. For nothing. Because if they try to make you miserable and uncomfortable, you don't even see their shit in the way maybe other people do. Because who wants to stay in a place where they got weirdo creeper motherfuckers stalking them and shit, texting each other? That's some weird shit. Ain't no amount of nice apartment, pool, amenities is worth it. When you got weirdo crackheads and shit like you gonna fold up, you know what I'm saying? Got weirdo ass witches and warlocks that are distorted, but they got a craft, but their asses is weird because they never got mental health. I'm just saying, it doesn't hold the same weight. That's why I say they overplayed the hand. They want you all miserable so bad, they then accelerated their impending doom, and they have accelerated you and your children's liberation from any contracts, from any signatures that they have gotten. That's what they manage to do. Oh, you want them, you want to be the noise maker, or you want them to feel utterly miserable and in agony. Very well. You and your people will be feeling that way, but above that, you will live this. You yourself will end up uncomfortable in your own environment. You yourself will. Why? Your obsession to try to make the targeted population that way. You'll be humiliated. Why? Your very obsession with trying to humiliate them. Okay? So, perspective shift. This is a good thing. See, sometimes we just can't get it in the moment because we got too much going on and we're working through it. But, you know, your oversoul and that you've been working on, it, you know, is helping your spirit guides and team, you know, all that along the way. It's like, yeah, you feel like this is frustration, but you don't need to contract with these motherfuckers because this has all been a scheme. You just didn't know it. Ain't nothing here around you for you. With the exception of maybe 3 to 5 people at the max that you've encountered. And that's true of me. There's one lady in a business organization and she goes out the way to help my son. She's not connected though. She's not connected to this housing situation with my son. Okay. She's been nothing but helpful the entire time that my son's been in Texas, above and beyond. Now, has she been communicating with people behind the scene? Now that I can't say. All I can say is my experience with her and all of the times in which I have reached out, she's always come through and went above and beyond. She was the one that hooked me up with some folks of hers, some friends of hers, to help my son to move so that it wasn't so hard on him, or on me basically, so that we wasn't, you know, because these people want to get a kick out of watching struggle. These are mentally ill people. I've settled it already in my mind and my heart. They just want to get out a kick, something to talk about, something to laugh about, something to, yeah. They wanted to get a kick out of that. And so this one lady helped and stepped in. So when it was time to move my son to this location, it was smooth. It was smooth in the sense of just getting it done. I'm not saying smooth on the back end with housing authority and the complexes. No, they did what they always do. Play stupid and cause unnecessary delays. They did what they always do in that respect. Okay. But all we had to do was the packing. They did the loading and the unloading. We didn't have to do we didn't have to do any of that, which is rare, because we had struggled before. So I had been attacked spiritually 2 days prior, because them nasty things that run these motherfuckers, them things was mad. They're mad. Them entities. So, you all just know, sometimes it is for a reason. Sometimes it's spell work and sabotage. Other times it's your team, because they know that these people that maybe you're trying to be just and you're trying to do things right, but they know that these people have ill will and hidden dishonor towards you. And it's like, no, they don't even deserve that. What we're going to do is ride this. They don't even deserve that. Once they showed you how they was willing to treat your son or your daughter, whatever that situation was for y'all, that's all you ever need to know. That's all you need to know to determine if you want to be added to some shit. If you want to, you don't want that. You want to be able to get out of those things as soon as you can. Okay? Remember that. They overplayed their hand. And I love that they did. I love that these people's vanity, conceit, and arrogance caused them to overplay. Sure, it's annoying. But where it's leading is why I'm smiling.